Most people buy the radio for APRS capabilities. To program the APRS frequencies, or not frequency, to program everything into APRS, you can do that manually on the radio if you do not want to, if you don't have the software yet, or if you just want to learn how to program the radio, which I highly recommend. To program APRS, first thing I always do is change the frequency on VFOB to the frequency that APRS beacons in your area. In the United States, it's 144.390 megahertz. To do that, I'll show you real quick how to change. You can change between A and B VFO also. The right dial knobs, if you want to switch to B band, press in on the lower dial knob. And vice versa, if you want to go back to A band, press in on the upper dial knob. To change the frequency, I'll do that on the keypad on the microphone. Now, I always like changing the frequency first, because whenever you start playing with the APRS, you don't want to accidentally beacon on a frequency that someone's using. It's much better to accidentally send a beacon on the frequency that's designated for APRS. You want to go into the setup menu area, so press and hold the display setup button. In the area, there is a menu item for APRS. Go ahead and press the APRS. In here you can adjust whether you want the compass to head up. North is always up. APRS filters, the APRS message text, everything can be adjusted in here. First thing I always do is you can look at the APRS filters. I leave everything turned on. Some people like to turn off the weather and different status features that people can beacon and only want to pick up certain beacons. For now, I will leave the APRS modem off. We will get back to that and turn the APRS modem on. APRS mute, I always turn that on. What that does, it mutes the radio for incoming beacons. You won't constantly hear the data transfer in the APRS. Go ahead and tap APRS mute to turn that on. Again, if you do switch frequencies, if you turn APRS off, switch frequencies, you will have to go back in here and turn APRS mute off. It mutes the B band of the radio. APRS pop-up gives you how long you want when it receives a beacon for it to be displayed on the screen. You can put it on, set it to hold to where it will stay there until you acknowledge it. Off if you don't want to see it. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. I generally have for standard beacons 3 seconds. Messages, if someone sends me a message, of course I want to see it, so I will leave it on hold, set that to hold. My beacon, I don't need to see when my radio receives the beacon. Some people like that feature to be able to see. Default is set to off. Go ahead and press the back button. APRS pop-up color, you can go through, change the color that will be displayed for the different types of beacon. If you want to see, you can set it, the pop-up screen of green, blue, orange, purple, sky blue, yellow, amber, white. I just leave it to the default setting. Some areas will put different things, or you can change it to everything default, change your message color so it catches your attention a little bit better. With the APR transmit delay, all that, I always leave that alone. Don't worry about changing any of that. The menu item 13 the beacon info select. This allows you to change what is transmitted through your APRS beacon. With it being mobile based, a lot of people transmit their speed and course, altitude, ambiguity. You can turn on to where you don't want people knowing your exact location, whether it's for family or just because you don't want it. The beacon status text. This is what is sent with all of your APRS beacons. You can change this fairly simple. Text 1. I always set to frequency, squelch, and shift. This will transmit whatever frequency you have band A set to. It allows people to see, if they see that you're nearby and you're beaconing APRS, they know what repeater you're on, or if you're on simplex, they can then tune to that frequency and call you versus sending you a message via APRS. So I always recommend turning the frequency, squelch, and shift on. This is where you would select which one you have set. You can also add to this in here to whichever you would like. This will be added in after your frequency and everything. It allows you to enter up to 5 separate text messages to pick which one you want it to use. Use the select, text 1. That'll display text 1 in the beacon whenever it sends it out. Beacon TX is what you send part of your transmit for automatic transmit for your beacon. Right now auto is turned off. Proportional, low speed interval decay, which will, if it detects your speed slowing down or you stop, decay will turn on and automatically decrease the frequency of sending out a beacon. Digipath select. This is where a lot of people get confused. I always leave it on wide 1.1, wide 2-2.1. That is the most common area. If you do get into areas that are not quite as saturated with digipeaters, you can go through and set custom paths that you want to use. Like Digipath 1, if I want to create a custom path, I can enter in a digipeater that it always goes into. The call sign for APRS is separate from the call sign register to the radio. Although it is still your call sign that you enter, it is where you enter in the SSID for what type of APRS beacon you are sending. You can get a full list of the standards for the SSIDs. Mobile, if it is a mobile radio set up in your vehicle, -9 for an SSID is common. If you're programming in an HT with APRS, most people use -7. It allows people to recognize what type of radio is beaconing so they know what type of power they're transmitting. Easiest way to get a hold of them, if someone is transmitting a -7 from an HT, they know they have to be closer to them to be able to communicate with them simplex. After you enter your call sign with the appropriate SSID, hit enter. Message groups, we'll get into it a later video. Automatic message replies, all that stuff we'll cover when we get into a video covering APRS messaging. GPS for menu number 26 is my position set. Using it for mobile radio, use GPS to automatically update your GPS coordinates. If you're using it for a base station radio, or if you're out camping somewhere, out boondocking in the backcountry, you can set it to manual and automatically enter your GPS coordinates, so it saves battery life, turns the GPS off if you're operating on emergency power. So make sure that's set to GPS. My position, this is where you manually enter your GPS location. Again, if you're operating on emergency power and you don't want to turn the GPS on, you can manually enter your GPS coordinates. My symbol, that is the symbol that's beaconed with your APRS information. You can go through, change multiple different icons. Or you can pick 4 different ones that you can change between each for different occasions. If you switch vehicles with the radio, beaconing from home, or say you end up going out camping, you can change it to a tent. Again, there are multiple icons available. Set the icon that you want, press the back button. Position comment, there's multiple positions that you can use. It'll beacon whether you're off duty, en route, in service, returning. A lot of people use these different comments for if you're assisting with a marathon or bike race and you're helping with communications, to where they're using the GPS or APRS features of radios. You can en route, in service, returning, special, priority, or you can set custom messages. The special and priority you don't really want to use. They will send, if you beacon priority or special, it will show up as a incoming message on people's other APRS enabled radios. The one that you do not want to use, unless you absolutely are in an emergency, there is an emergency position comment. What that does is we'll send a emergency message to all APRS enabled radios saying, hey, there's an emergency, I need help immediately. It's if you're out in the backcountry or somewhere and your vehicle breaks down, gets stuck, you're stranded, have no way to get out, you need help, you can set that to emergency, and everyone sees it as an emergency, and someone will be calling local authorities to get you help. So never use emergency unless it is an absolute emergency. I always leave mine either to off duty, or I'll set a custom message. I'm lost and confused or anything, you can make a custom message to enter in what you want. This is where one thing I really like with Yaesu radios is their smart beaconing. to me, more reliable, sends a more consistent beacon than the automatic beacon or manual beacon options. You have 3 different smart beacon types that you can enter or turn it off. Type 1 I always set for normal everyday use. Low speed, high speed will change the frequency of beacons being sent out. With highway speeds, I always change this to 60 miles an hour just because there is always going to be traffic on highways. So you get in a traffic jam and get slowed down, you don't necessarily want to start increasing the number of beacons you send out. So I always set high speed to 60 miles an hour for everyday use. Low speed, I generally increase to 10 miles per hour and enter the speed that you want and then press enter. What that does for slow rate will change to that once you get to your high speed setting. So once I hit 60 miles an hour faster, it'll change the rate of beacons being sent out to every 5 minutes, which is a good default setting there. Your slow rate of speed, or slow speed at 10 miles an hour, once I get down to 10 miles an hour and under, it changes to sending a beacon every 120 seconds. Generally, you don't want to change that, put any slower than 120 seconds. Once every 3 minutes is sufficient for APRS beaconing. You don't want to saturate and send unnecessary beacons through the digipeters and eye gates. You can change the turn angle and turn slope, which will, what that does is if I go around a turn that is where I change direction more than 28 degrees, it will send a beacon. Whether it's under the 120 seconds or 5 minute time mark, it will send a beacon up to every 30 seconds if you are, every 10 seconds if you're going around a sharp corner, long curve, it'll send a beacon every time you reach 26 degrees direction change. Turn time, if you're turning for more than 30 seconds, we'll send a beacon. You can change that, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. A lot of people in the off-road community will set these fairly faster to where when they're on a trail going very slow and want to be able to see a good track of direction, where they've been, where they're going, it puts more points on the map. Again, I don't recommend going any slower than every 3 minutes for standard settings, or any faster than 3 minutes for standard settings, because you don't want to saturate the eye gates and digipeters. Causes a lot of packet collisions and information doesn't get through. Go back, have that set to type 1. You can change your filtering, voice alert, to change sort filtering. You can sort time wise, filter all. That is all set in your filter group area. Now, one thing I always do is turn the APRS mute on. It allows you to not have to listen to the beacons constantly. Now we can go through, now that we have everything set, turn the APRS modem on. And it will start beaconing APRS. Now, another thing you'll have to do once you get out of there is go to the function setting. You can see on the top right hand corner it shows the satellite, which means that GPS is enabled and turned on. APRS is turned on, meaning we turn the APRS modem on. Now if you go to the function area, you'll see two different icons. If they're not on the screen right away, the forward and back button will go between the different functions of the radio. Beacon TX is to send a manual beacon. You press that, you can see that it transmitted and sent a beacon out. The beacon icon menu, press that, you'll see in the upper right hand corner filled in circle popped up. You can see a dot with an outline around it. That is for automatic beacon. To turn on the smart beaconing that we just went through and set up, press the beacon again. Now you can see it's just an open circle, or not open, it is just a circle that's not filled in. That tells you that smart beaconing is turned on. Now you can press the function button again to get out of that screen, and it will beacon according to the parameters you have set up. That is how you set up the APRS and basic setup with the new radio. We will get into more details with other APRS messaging, text messaging. It is possible to send a SMS text message using the APRS on your radio to a cell phone, which is very nice. If you spend a lot of time away and don't have cell service, you can send a text message to your family and friends, let them know that you're doing good. We'll get into other features of the radio. I'll also be doing video reviews and how-tos for different radios. A lot of Yaesu radios, Kenwood, the Bofang radio, TYT, Anytone. So subscribe, pay attention, watch for new videos coming out. They'll be going to try and do at least one video a week, might be every 2 weeks. Like I said, be a lot more videos coming.